Here in this video, we are trying to automate a business workflow process. The process we are considering here is permission to be absent from class. The general process goes like this. A student fills in a form in which the student fills in when he is going to be on leave or when he wants to be on leave from attending a class and uploads it to a SharePoint drive. Moment this request is made by the student, the request has to go to the program leader for approval. If the program leader approves it, then the form is taken to Student Staff Center, which is called SSC, for further approval. Once that is done, the approval process completes. To automate it, we are going to do like this. Student fills in the form, and then the student uploads the form in the SharePoint drive. Once he uploads it, the form is taken to the program leader. A request is sent to the program leader to approve it or reject it. If the program leader approves it, then the Word file is sent to Student Staff Center for approval. If the SSC approves or rejects based on the outcome, there's an email sent to the student as well as the PL indicating this has been approved. If the request by the student is rejected by the program leader, an email is also sent to the student. Plus, everyone, meaning the student, the program leader, and those involved can also see the status of the request on a SharePoint site. This is what we are trying to do today. In order to do this, we need a SharePoint site. You need to have a document library. You need to know who is the program leader for this student. You also have to have the contact information or the email for SSC. I'm making some assumptions here just to make things easier for us to practice or test. The request is made from my account. My PL is also myself and the SSC is also myself. You could use different emails and it should work fine without any issues. So let's move on to start and do the flow. Here is a website. Here is a site. You could actually create a site by going into SharePoint. So let's say you go into SharePoint, right? It'll be like this, create a site, and then you could choose team site, and then you can say standard team. You can use template, give a name here. Let's say I have a name here, for example, and then you can just say next, and you can finish off the site. You can create the site. So I have done it already. So I'm not going to repeat it. So this is my site here. So this is my site. If you look at it, this is called as manager site. You can name it whatever way you want it to be. I'm going to create what is called as a document library. So click on document library. And then for the document library, just say a blank library. Give it a name. Let's say this is for absent from class. We call it like this. Okay, click create. So you have the library ready now. Library is created. So you have the manager site, which is a basic SharePoint site. You have what is called absent from class. This is a document library. So you could create one document library here. And in this document library, let's create certain columns. Let's add certain columns. There is a name. You don't need to worry about it. So let's have what is called as approval history. Approval history will be multiple lines of text. So click this and say approval history. Okay, click save. And then create one more column, add one more column. This is yes bar no, and this is called start approval. Okay, so you can keep the default value here as yes. Click save. Then you can add one more column, which is choice, which is of type choice. You can say this is the status. So there are three status here. One is called as pending. One is approved. The other one is rejected, and the default we call it as pending. So that's it. So you have done certain stages here. Okay, so when you do these stages, you have added columns here, so you can bring these columns to the front. So this is approval history. Let's bring the other one here, and the status. So we have done all this right now. So what is the use of these extra columns you have added? Approval history will contain what is the status of the application now, status of the request. Start approval, if it is yes, the system can automatically process it. If it is no, that means the process is complete and there is no need to do an approval process for it. Status will tell you whether the request is in pending state, approved state, rejected state, whatever state it is. So let's now move on to the flow. Create a flow now. It is automated cloud flow, right? So let's give a name for it. So this is absent from class. So when a file is modified, so you can search for it, right? So you can just search. If you don't find it, you can type here and search also. File is created. Yeah. So when a file is created or modified, okay, when a file is created or modified, properties only. This is from the SharePoint one. I click create. This is your trigger. This is called as a trigger. You can see it says invalid parameters because we have not specified the parameters yet. So we are going to use the manager site. This is the site which you have created. Let's say if the manager site does not appear, you can go here and copy from here to here and paste it in this as a custom value. Then click this. You should find the library here. So this is the library which we have created just now called absent from class. Okay, so now this is ready now, right? So once this is ready, I'm just going to add, I just want to see what are the fields that are existing there, correct? So I can do a compose here. Let's say a compose. In this compose, when I click this, I will see it tells you when a file is created or modified, properties only, I have what is called start approval. So we are in need of this one, okay? So if you go open this, that is a function. So this is a trigger, body, whatever. So just cancel this. I'm going to go back here, go to settings. So please note I'm now at the trigger. This is the trigger, this is an action. Add a trigger condition and you can type in here. So we are going to change few things here, okay? So first thing, you will come here and you will say, remove this bracket here, curly bracket, type here equals, trigger body, start approval, remove the last bracket as well, and then you can say, comma, true, right? So what we are trying to do, it will only start, this trigger will be activated only when this is true, okay, only when this is yes, otherwise it won't, right? So that's the first step. Okay, so if it is true, it will start, otherwise it won't start. So let's add the next step here. Update file properties. So update file properties, I've chosen this now. So again, here we need to choose our manager site. And let's go to the document library, which is absent from class. And you need an ID here. So click on this and choose the ID from when a file is created or modified. So now you can click this. I want to see approval history. Okay, just click outside. You will see it here. And start approval, you can just say no. Why? Because the initial value is yes. Now that the start approval has processed already, it is now in the process of approval. We don't need to start approving again, correct? Status is pending. We can leave it as it is. So you can say here in the history, approval started at. So I'm going to write in a formula here. So if you are going to use formula, we use this fx. If you are going to link a dynamic content, you click this. So it's here. So let's say format date time. So I just want to say approval started what time. UTC now will tell the standard time, and then I'm going to write in the format of, let's say, year, month, and let's say day, hour, and minutes. So click this. So that's done now. So 3 steps has been done. So let's try to do furthermore. So after this, we need to send the request for approval. Okay. So let's do that one. I'm going to continue all the steps and then we can test it. Probably there's an error. We will also debug. So start and wait for an approval. So this is start and wait for an approval. Please don't choose start and wait for an approval of text. So choose this one. So here approval type, you can send to multiple people. So if the first one responds, then that itself is enough. And you can say the title. So this is request now for request to be absent from class. Whom are we sending to? Okay. So this time this is sent to me, as I have told you that the PL is myself. So this one we can rename it. You can just say, okay, just go here and click and you can say PL. So this is to be approved by PL. And then details, just click this, choose approval history and link to the item, right? So if there is an item, you can link it. So click here. I don't see any link here, so I can click this, search for link to the item, this one. So this will actually link to the file which is uploaded in the SharePoint. So you can say here the description for the link is go to document, correct? So this will just show like a statement near the link. And that's good enough. So we have the approval done. So once there's a request come in, you are sending for approval, you want to update the properties. So update file properties here. So go into update file properties. And in this case here again, you choose the same manager site. Our library name should be absent from class. The ID, you can go here and choose the ID. You can choose the ID from both conditions. You can choose either from update or you can even choose from this. This is the same file anyway. And then start approval. So you can say the status, you will change it. Right now status is pending, still it is pending. So start approval is yes, status is pending. Okay. And you can say this one, you can also write here and start and wait for approval. If it takes too long, for example, has timeout. Right? So this will only work if there is a timeout. Right? If this does not work, maybe you have sent the request to the PL and it has not been approved for quite a long time, then this will go through. Okay, that's what we want to do. And here you can click, open the approval history, and then you can just write here approval timeout. You can just give a time here. So for the time, you can just go back and copy from the previous ones here. Select, copy this. I just want to indicate what time it got timed out. Now let us start a condition here. So you are going to put a condition. Condition can be of 2 conditions. I mean, condition is based on whether it is approved or not. So let's look at this one. Start and wait for approval. See the outcome. If the outcome is approve, okay, so then we come to this, right? If it is approved, so let's go and click on update file properties. So now I'm going to update the file. Again, you need to choose the same things here. Manager site and the library name and the ID. So you can check this ID here, and then let's approval history. So you can say because it is approved now, correct? You can say that it is done. So you can say no, you don't need to start the approval again. And then the status value is approved, and you want to write the approval history. Okay, approved at, so this is the time, right? So approval time, you can specify it there. And we want to know, here we also want to know the past history. When did it start and so on. So you can go back and click this, click the dynamic one, click the dynamic, and copy the update history from the previous one. Okay, so you can get it from here, or you can also get it from the one before, right? So you can get this one. Remember, this is something we are doing when there is a timeout, so you can ignore this. Then come back here, create one more. It's also called update file properties. Alright, same. We need to do almost similar stuff. Manager site, library name, ID to the file is from when a file was created, and just show the approval history here. Okay, so you have the approval history. And then you can just say start approval. You can say no, because you don't need to approve something which has been rejected already. So status should be rejected. And the approval history, you can just say rejected at this. That's a time. I'm just copying the time from the previous ones. You can also type in the formula. And finally, you can also add a terminate. Okay, just to close. Okay, so here you can say, let's say cancel, for example. Okay, you can also go here and give a timeout if you want to. Right, so these are the steps. Let's try to save this. So there are a few warnings. I'm just going to skip all these warnings. This is just about view properties. There's a warning here. Right, so you can see what are the steps here. Number one, I have a trigger. Right, so there is a trigger here which says when there's a file is modified or created. Once this is done, it will find out, it will go and update the properties. Update file properties will update it here. Then it will the email is sent to the PL, and based on the PL's reply, it can be either approved or disapproved. Okay, so let's go here, and you can write here approved by PL, for example. Okay, and here you can also say rejected by PL. There is one step which we did not do, right? If this one is approved by the PL, we want to send it to the SSC, right? So let's say for SSC now. So start and wait for approval. So approval type, first to respond. So let's change this. Let's call it as SSC, and title as request to be absent from class. So I'm using my own email. If you want to change, you can click this and then start typing the email you want to. Or you can also read from a system. Okay, so this is assigned details. So because we are going to send to the SSC, right, we want to provide the approval history. So approval history from here, right? So the SSC member has to see, link to the item, just provide the link to the actual file. You can also check this, click see more, go down and choose link to the item. So this is an item description, say go to document. Okay, so this is something to be done. And once it goes to SSC, correct, and from the SSC we will have a condition. The condition would be whether the SSC approves it or disapprove it, right? So you have to click this outcome. If it is approved, then you send an email. So send an email. We can use this Office 365 Outlook. So email is sent to whom? Email is sent to the person who has submitted the request. Right. So we want to see, if you go all the way here and the file, you want to check whether there's an email here. Okay. So let's see. So right now I'm going to type in my own email address, but you can go in and you can figure out the email address of the person who submitted the request. So the request is from here when a file is created or modified. Okay, so modified by, yeah, you can use this email and you can just say request to be absent from class. So you can use it as approved. So in the body, you can just go and take the outcome, or you can just go here to SSC and get the approval history from. You can do the approval history from 2, right? From the 2, and your request is approved. Okay, so you can just say details here. Right, you can change many things, depends on what you want to include in the email. So here I'm going to say send an email. Okay, in this case again I'm going to send it to the, so click switch to advanced, click this one, go all the way to the file was created, so modified by email, so we'll get the email address, and then you can say request to be absent from class, you can say rejected. So this is a rejected one, and your request is rejected. Okay, you can add the history. If you don't want to send where and how, you can just leave that blank also. So where do you get the history? History should be from update file properties too. So that is actually one before this step here. So approval history, so I can just say details. So this is done as of now. But then when the PL has rejected, we are not sending an email. So let's send an email here. PL has rejected the request. Right, so we can click this. So here you can say request to be absent from class. We can just say rejected. Okay, your request is not approved. So if you want to provide here the approval history, you can click this. Remember, you can't do this. Okay, you can also do this. Yes, this is update file properties 3, correct? So watch out the steps before. From there you can get the outputs. You can just say details here, and this is how our whole workflow will be, right? Let's save this, see whether there are any other errors around. There are some warnings. I'm going to just leave them for now. So you start your request. So you can see here, make a request, update it, wait for the approval by the PL, then update the file properties based on the, this is timeout, this is for timeout. And based on the approval or not. So you can change all this. If you want to make it clear, just click here and say um, approval by PL. Okay, then you can click this and say approval by SSC. Right, so update file properties, you can just put here dash PL. Right, this is PL approved. So here is rejected by the PL, correct? So if you make the names clear, it will be much easier. Okay, so and so on, you can change them. So let me just save it again. They're just warning, I'm going to skip them. So it gives me one error here. So you can see here, when a file is modified, fix the invalid parameter. So let me save again. There's no error, there are only 2 warnings, but then I have an error here at the top. Input parameter when a file. So it says this one, so you click this, and probably the error comes from here. Yeah, it's mentioned. Triggers body equals this comma true. So let's try to save this now. Okay, so now it is saved. So you can see there's no warnings here. Your flow is saved, but with the warning. You can change the warnings, but I'm going to skip those warnings right now. So I'm going to test it. Okay, just click and then test. It is now ready to run, but it needs some steps to run, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to the document library folder, and then I'm just going to upload a request from here. This is a student uploading his or her request for being absent from the class. Let me just upload a file here. Okay, so I just uploaded a file. Let's see what happens here. By the way, this might take some few seconds or few minutes because the process of Power Automate is asynchronous in nature. So if you want to see what happens, you can just go back, right? You will see, you can close all this and you can click here. You will see the run should come here. Right, you might need to wait a while to see the run coming. Yes, here it is running. You can click on this. And you see it has got in. It has updated the properties right now. Now it is waiting for the PL to approve. Okay, so I should get an email to approve the request. Yeah, so let's reload my email. Let's see. Yeah, here is a email which asks me to approve or disapprove. So if I click this, go to document, it should open the file which the student has uploaded. So I can just write my comments, whatever here. Once I'm done, let's say I'm going to select approved. Okay, so click. So I've approved it. So now we will see what happens next. So it went there and then it has stopped somewhere, right? So you can see this is supposed to be clear, but it did not. You can click on each one stage to see what's happening, right? So here it got struck. So run after condition is not satisfied. So this will not run now, and that is why it cannot go down, okay? Because it's not going to run here, it cannot go down any further. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back. I'm editing my flow, right? So there are a few options. One, you can just remove this one. This is not something very important for us because we have written here, we want to run this only when the process is timed out. So what you can do, or click here, add a parallel branch. Okay, sorry, click, add a parallel branch, right? And you can move into that branch. Okay, I'm just going to add a compose for the parallel branch. You will see now what happens. So I'm going to move this here. Okay, so if I'm going to move this here, right? So now this is done. This is a parallel branch. Okay, so you can have a parallel branch or you can even just delete it. Okay, so you want to just display something here. So click on this, click, and let's say, yeah. So just make sure when you choose something there, I cannot choose this here. It's not applicable. I can only choose this, right? I also cannot choose things which come from here, right? So I'm just going to click this, and then I'm going to choose the approval history here. Just display it. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my sites. Well, let me just close this permission file. Go here, save my process. Okay, there's only warning. I'm going to skip it. And I'm going to test it now. So test, just say manually and say OK. So I'm waiting for it to run. So let's upload this file again. So I'm just going to replace it. Now we need to see whether our flow runs again. Okay, like before, it might take some few seconds or minutes to start. Okay, so it's still waiting to be started. So we uploaded a file here. Still, it is not available here. Let's see what happens here. So let's add. Let me just, let's check the process. What happened now? So you might wonder why nothing happens here. Okay, so let's see how it goes. I'm going to upload a new file here. So I'm uploading, dropping in a new file. You see here it becomes pending. So when I come in with a new file, it comes pending. When it is pending, that is when it will start. Otherwise, it won't start. The reason is because our flow has a trigger. The trigger has a condition that it should be pending to start. Okay, and it should be this one. The status approval should be true to start. Right. I'll show it to you here. Let me go to the flow. Let's edit the flow. The main reason the flow don't start is because of this. If you go into our trigger and you will see here, there is a condition. Okay, there's a condition here. So this is running. Let me show you. Right now I have received an email to approve a request. Right, here is the request. So let's approve this, submit, see what happens next. Okay, so then it says it is completed here. So there is an action failure here. Okay, the dependent action did not succeed. So because I have moved the updated properties out, you will find there's an issue here. So here is another request coming in. So you will see now, you can see the history can be found here. You see it is started at this time. Let me go back to the edit. So there's one more thing I want you to take note of. It's always good to turn off, right? Because it is running regularly, you can turn it off, right? So that it doesn't create more requests after one after the other. Okay. All right. So I have one more email. Let me just this time let me just reject it. So you can see what really happens in this run. Want to see the run? You click. You can check what is the status. and then it goes in to this side here, approval condition. Okay, condition by PL, you can click this. So it went on, so it failed. Okay, so there's an email sent. So let's see the email. You see your request is not approved, rejected by PL at this time. Okay, so you can check all this. So this is how it goes. If it is approved, then it will go to the other side here, sent an email to the respective person. So now we'll go back and see the history here. Just refresh this. So it says here rejected by PL. Okay. So one thing I don't see it here, I only see rejected by PL. I'm not seeing what time you started your request. So if you want to see that request, you can just go here, edit the properties, go to update file properties. Here in the approval history, not there, it's here. Okay, in here in the file properties, you have only said rejected. You have not given the history. So let's say if you put in the history here, click this and you can add the history from here. Okay, so you will see like it will give you some more updates. Right, so let's save this. Just make sure the conditions are okay. So here is our condition. Let's close this. So it says what? Body outcome. So let's make sure this is coming from this outcome, correct? And then here, this is just updating the properties here. And this one, it's just sending an email to the respective member. And then there's a condition here. Let's see, the condition is based on outcome. This is outcome of SSE. Right. So like this, you can check, you can save it, and then you can now do a test again. Okay, so whole process goes like this. Once a student uploads a file here, so let's say I'm uploading a new file. All right, so you will see it says start approval is yes. Only when this is yes, our request will run. Okay, our Power Automate will run, otherwise it won't. So it will take some few seconds as we have discussed before, and it should run it. I hope you can test this flow. You can run it, you can check how it goes. So I'll just summarize the process itself. The process goes like this. When a file is created, modified, this is a trigger. It will only run if the start approval is true, otherwise it won't run. You don't need this compose right now, you can delete it. And immediately you get that file, you want to update in the manager site, you want to update few things here, and then you will send it to the PL to approve. Once the PL approves, if it is true, then you send to the SSE for approval. Okay. If the PL refuses it or rejects it, you send an email back to the sender saying that your request has been rejected. And if the SSE approves it, so you will update. You keep on updating this part here. Okay. And then you get an answer. Right now, I've actually stopped the flow, if you remember. Right. So you can go on and click here, turn on the flow. Right. So then if there is any file here coming in, right now this is status, start approval is yes. So using this condition, it should trigger and it should run a flow. Okay. It might take some time as usual. Right. So I'll stop it here. I want you to practice this. You might face some errors, but it's a good way to practice the whole process. All right. Thank you so much.